'cause I'm a fool for your love.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be sharing with you my top favorite brushes for freelancing. These are brushes that I've been using for quite some time and I just always reach for whenever I'm doing my clients, and I just had to share them with you guys because I've actually gotten this question before, and rather than answering it in a comment because there's just way too many brushes to share, I thought why not do a video on it where I actually share each brush, why I love it, what I use it for, and where you can get it. So if you're interested in seeing what brushes are my favorites and I just can't live without when it comes to my freelance kit, then just keep watching. Alright, so the first two brushes that I'm actually going to start off with, I'm going to do this by like categories, by the way. So the first two brushes are similar, but I still love them both just as equally. And unfortunately they are both high-end, so they are a little bit more on the pricey side compared to some of the other brushes I'm going to be sharing with you, but honestly they're worth every penny. And like I said, I reach for these pretty much every time I do makeup on a client. Like, I want to be that makeup artist that's like super prepared and has like different brush sets whenever I have like a really busy day with clients. Because I know some makeup artists will like put aside different brush sets so they don't have to clean their brushes in between, you know, weddings or whatever. But these are just brushes that I can't be without, so like I need them every time I do makeup. So yeah, but anyways, the first one is actually by Makeup Forever, and this one is the 108 straight brush. So it may not look like there's anything special about this brush. It's pretty much just a traditional paddle foundation brush, but what I love about this is it's really wide compared to like a traditional foundation brush. It just covers more surface area, and it's also pretty dense for a paddle brush, so I feel like it just really pushes the product into the skin and causes way less streakiness compared to some other foundation paddle brushes, and I love this. So I use this to apply skincare, so like moisturizer. I use it to apply primer sometimes, and then I also use it to actually apply foundation to the skin. Now I typically, like 9 times out of 10, will go in with a sponge after using this to apply the foundation. I just like to use this to distribute the product all over the skin, and then I use the sponge to actually blend. But you could totally use this just on its own with no sponge. I'm sure it would work totally fine, but I just really liked this to just apply the foundation all over the skin because it just applies a really neat, nice, even layer, and then I go in with a sponge. But I love this. It's kind of like a multi-use brush for me. Like I said, I use it to apply moisturizer, primers, and foundation. So I really, really enjoy this brush a lot and use it all the time. It's also really soft, so that's a plus. The next one is similar uses, but completely different brush. So this one is by MAC, and this is the MAC 191. So I've never really used a brush quite like this before, and I just think it's such a unique brush. So it is, you know, a foundation brush just like this one is, but the shape is obviously clearly different, and I again will use this to apply moisturizer, primer, but again I also love using this to apply foundation onto the skin and then going with a sponge. I don't know, there's something about the like square shape of this that just really, I don't know, it just creates like such a flawless application on the skin. And I've actually seen makeup artists use this to carve out brows. I've seen that in a YouTube video before and it looked like it worked really well. I haven't used it for that purpose, but I could totally see how it could work for that because it is really, really thin and really straight. And I also have used this to contour as well. Like, it just creates like the most precise contour line because of the shape of it. You could even use it to clean up the contour line because it is, again, going back to the shape. I just love both of these. They pretty much have similar uses for me. I pretty much use them for the same reasons, but it just maybe depends on the client or, you know, whatever. I love these. Okay, so I had to share them because they are pretty different too. Like, they're not your traditional palette. Alright, so moving on, I'm going to be sharing with you guys like a foundation kabuki brush. So I don't always use these when applying foundation, I kind of go through phases. I go through times where I will only use a sponge to apply foundation concealer on my clients, and then sometimes I like to use brushes. It just really depends. But when I'm in my brush mode, I love this brush for applying foundation, and the best part about it is it's super cheap. I believe this is $6. It's by e.l.f. Cosmetics, which we all know who e.l.f. is, and I love this. So I believe it's from their Studio line, but this is just the most perfect foundation like kabuki brush, honestly. Like, I know there's so many out there like this, but a lot of them are way more expensive, and all you need is the one by e.l.f. I have multiple of these. I have one for myself. I have one in my spray tanning equipment, just in case like I need to buff out any spray tan lines. I love this. So this is like the perfect size, and it's also the perfect density. It's not too dense where it's gonna like really pack the foundation on and make it look cakey. It's also not too loose where it's gonna leave you like looking super streaky and like the coverage super sheer. Like, it's just the most perfect brush. It's super soft, and I love this, and I've been using it for a few years now. And yeah, I definitely recommend this if you're somebody that likes to apply foundation with a brush and not a sponge. So the next two brushes I will share with you are actually brushes for setting the face. So the first one is actually by BH Cosmetics, and I've been using this pretty much non-stop. Well, there was like a little short period where I was using a different brush, but I've been using this pretty much since last like January, and I love this brush. Again, it is by BH Cosmetics, and it just says the number 1. It actually came in a set, so they all had this dark handle and this rose gold top. So I'm assuming they still have the set, because I feel like BH Cosmetics keeps their brush sets for like ever. But yeah, it's just a really great setting brush. It's like the perfect size. It's super soft, and again, not too dense, not too loose. It just really distributes powder on the skin beautifully. And yeah, I've even used this to bronze, but I would say for the most part, I use it just to set, you know, the outer parts of the face. Another setting brush that I want to mention is by MAC. It's the 127S, and what's really unique about this brush is it's actually dual-sided. So the first side is like a traditional brush, and then the back side is like a synthetic brush. So it's pretty much two brushes in one. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really see a big difference in application when it comes to using either side. I kind of just use whatever. I really love using this when I want to set the face in like a smaller area and just want the powder to be more concentrated. Like if someone is really dry but maybe gets oily in the center of their face, I'll just use this to kind of apply the powder like in the T-zone, and since it's smaller and flat, it just kind of applies the powder where it needs to be and not all over the face. Where this one's gonna kind of like dust in a really big area, this is definitely, you know, smaller and just gonna give you a more concentrated application. I also really love this for underneath the eyes. If I wanted to just apply like a brightening powder underneath the eyes at the end of the application, I will use this because it just fits in that area like perfectly, and it's just such a great shape. So I definitely recommend this brush. And I got this probably in the beginning of the year, maybe. I don't know, I definitely got it this year, but I've been using it non-stop ever since. Alright, so you thought I was done with the setting brushes. I'm not. So I actually have some smaller setting brushes that I want to give a little shout out to. So the first one is by Real Techniques, which you can get at CVS, Walmart. It's sold in a million places, and this is actually called their setting brush, and I love this brush for applying powder right underneath the eye. It's the perfect size. It's super soft, and it just applies powder really nicely. I also will use this to apply brightening powders underneath there, not just translucent powders. And I really like using this on mature clients because I feel like when it comes to mature clients, I don't really like to pack the translucent powder underneath their eye because then it enhances and just brings out, you know, fine lines and wrinkles. I like to just kind of use like a light hand when it comes to setting underneath the eye. I mean, you still have to set regardless because you don't want the concealer to crease. But I recommend using like a brush like this, something that's just kind of like small and not too dense, and it's just going to lightly apply some powder underneath there to kind of absorb any moisture from the concealer. So I really love this. And then these two I have fallen in love with, and they're actually newer to my collection. Probably got them in the beginning of the summer, I would say. So we got the mama version and the baby version. This is by Morphe. This is the M438. And then this is by Morphe as well. It's the M501. So this is great for highlighting. I definitely use this quite a few times for highlighting the face and applying highlighter on the tops of the cheekbones and stuff, but I also really love it for applying translucent powder underneath the eye. It's like the perfect size because you can really get in there in that inner corner and pack on powder. I also use this for applying like MAC Emphasize, so again, like any kind of brightening powder for underneath the eyes. This works beautifully. It just kind of evenly distributes the powder in that area, but again, I just love it for the size because it just fits underneath here like perfectly. So I've been loving this brush, but it's also like a multi-use brush for me because like I said, I use this to highlight the face, but I also use it to apply powder underneath the eyes. And then I really love this one as well for pretty much setting underneath the eyes. I know you're probably like, girl, you have so many brushes for setting underneath the eyes, but I kind of switch it up depending on the client. But again, every brush that I'm mentioning to you, I swear, I really do use like 9 out of 10 clients. But yeah, I pretty much use this to set underneath the eyes, and it just really depends on the client. You know, sometimes I'll use this one to set, sometimes I'll use this one, sometimes I'll use a sponge. It really just depends. But overall, I just really have been enjoying this brush. You also could use it to contour as well because it does have a nice pointed edge, and if you struggle with contour, it's gonna help you out because it is, you know, pretty small, so it's just going to keep the powder where you want it to be. Okay, so the next two are also face brushes. The first one I want to mention, again by Morphe. I don't know if you see like a theme going on here, but I do like Morphe brushes, and mostly because they are very inexpensive, and I go through brushes a lot. You know, my brushes get used and abused. They're always being cleaned, they're always being used with makeup, so I don't really like to spend a ton of money on my brushes, like besides some of the few, like the Makeup Forever one, there's a MAC one, I have a Japanese one here that I haven't gotten to yet. So I don't really like to spend too much money on my brushes though because, like I said, they get used and abused, and I'd rather just spend a little less, and if I have to repurchase them, you know, then I have to repurchase them. But overall, these brushes have lasted great. I've been using them all year pretty much, and they are lasting just fine. But the next one is the Morphe R10, and I really have been loving this for contouring. So as you can see, it's just a tiny little brush. It's not that wide, so it just fits perfectly for contouring, but I really love it for blending out cream contour. It's like I said, the perfect size. It just kind of buffs out if you do cream contour, which I do quite frequently on my brides. It just buffs it out perfectly. It doesn't get it all over the place where you feel like the contour shade is now all over. It kind of keeps it where it's supposed to be, but it just blends it out beautifully and gives you like an airbrush finish. It's super soft. And yeah, I've really been loving this brush. You also could use it for blush. You could use it for multiple reasons, but I've definitely been using this when it comes to cream contouring. And then for bronzing, this has been my go-to. This is the Morphe M527, and I just love this for bronzing. It's great. I have one for myself as well, and it's just the perfect size. It's not like super like wide where it's gonna like put the bronzer all over the place. It just distributes the product really nicely. It's nice and soft, and there's really not much I can say about this brush. It's the brush that I've been using when it comes to bronzing. I would definitely recommend it. I know Tom Ford has like a pretty similar brush, but obviously this one's way cheaper, and yeah, I just really like this. So the next two are kind of multi-use brushes for me as well. But more so for blush and also bronzer. So this one is by Japanese, and I actually bought this at Marshalls. Yeah, I got this at Marshalls for like $5, and I know online these are like 15 or more. This is a really good quality brush. I have been loving this for blush. I've been loving it for bronzer. I've even applied highlighter with this. Like if I just want a really, really soft, subtle glow, like this just applies everything flawlessly. Like this just is the most perfect brush. Like I said, it's great for bronzer, but I definitely use this a lot for blush when it comes to my clients. And ever since I got this at Marshall's, I've been looking for it again because I really would love one for myself. I could just buy it online, like from Japanesque, but I got it for so cheap at Marshall's that I always look to see if I can get it for that cheap again. But yeah, ever since I got this, I've been using this nonstop. This next brush is mostly for blush for me, and I love this brush. So this is very different. I feel like you don't really see a lot of brushes like this one, and this is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill from their collection together, and this is the JH06, and this is just the most perfect blush brush. It just applies blush seamlessly. It doesn't apply too much. It doesn't apply too little. It's just perfect. It's a perfect size and shape because it just fits on the cheekbone so nicely. And I don't really like to use brushes that are super dense when it comes to blush because then it's just like so much color. But this just applies it beautifully, and I just love it for blush. Like it just never lets me down. Let's put it that way. It's such a great brush. Totally recommend it. Yeah. Alright, so the next two you are going to love if you struggle with contouring, specifically nose contouring. Again, we're going back to Morphe. I know I have a lot of Morphe brushes here. So the first one is the Morphe M572. So this is just a really tiny flat square brush, and if you struggle with nose contour, this is going to be your best friend. I'm not gonna lie, that is something that I definitely struggled with, but ever since I got this, it's been helping me tremendously. So this is just perfect for contouring the sides of the nose, even right underneath. It's not too big, it's not too small, and it kind of just does all the work for you. Just pop this in a little bit of contour powder or like a face powder, whatever you use to contour, and just, you know, go on each side of the nose, a little bit there, and it just does the work for you. So if you struggle with nose contour, you need this brush. And this one is very similar. I kind of use this as nose contour as well, but I just wanted to shout this one out as well because I use them both. It just kind of depends on the size of someone's nose, or sometimes I will use this to contour the cheeks if I really want that contour to pop on somebody and really pop their cheekbones, then I'll use this. But this is something I also use to contour the nose. So yeah, if you struggle with contour, you need brushes like these just flat, thin brushes, because they are going to help you tremendously when it comes to contouring. Okay, moving on to eye brushes. I actually don't have as many because eye brushes are one of those brushes that I do kind of switch around. I don't always use the same brushes, but I feel like these are like kind of my core eye brushes, and I definitely have some good recommendations. So when it comes to concealer brushes or like carving out the brows, I always need a good brush for like carving out the brows. It makes life so much easier if you're using like a really thin concealer brush, but for the longest time I couldn't find the right ones, but these two are great. So this is the Anastasia, oh, I don't know the name. It's rubbed off. I think it's the number 18 brush, but it's just this little concealer brush. It's super thin, like very, very, very thin, and perfect for carving out the brows, cutting the crease, and also amazing at applying color on the lid and giving you that really foiled metallic effect. You wet this brush with some shadow on it and apply this onto the lid. Use this to apply shadow onto the lid, and it's just going to give you the most beautiful shadow application. So I love this. Again, multi-use brush, but I do use this a lot to carve out the brows because it's just like the perfect shape. It's really thin, so you can get that really precise brow line. And again, also great for cutting the crease. It's just amazing. And then this one is kind of similar. Like, I will use this for pretty much all the same reasons I use this. But I also really like to use this to apply like concealer. Like if I'm using concealer to highlight the face, I like to use this to kind of draw it on because I just feel like I have more control with this. But again, also great for carving out the brows. So this one, if you're wondering, is by a brand called Shop Miss A. Check out Shop Miss A because they have literally everything's like $1 on there. They have eyelashes, they have all different products, but there are little concealer brushes on there that are like $1. Don't sleep on them because they are like great for carving out the brows, cutting the crease. I have like 3 of these. You also can use this brush to apply shadow. It's just, again, a multi-use brush, and it's a freaking $1. Like $1. If anything, it's maybe $1.88, but regardless, like, who cares? Like, it's so cheap, and I have been using these like non-stop. The next 2 are blending brushes, and my blending brushes, I feel like I do kind of switch around a little bit, but 2 I wanted to give a little shout out to. This is the number 6 BH Cosmetics brush. This actually came in the same set as this one, but this is just a great crease brush. Like, it's fluffy, it's great at applying transition shades. It's just like the perfect little, you know, transition shade brush when you're starting out your makeup look. I love this, and it's BH Cosmetics, so like, you know, they're really cheap, and I actually really love BH Cosmetics. When I first started out freelancing, BH Cosmetics were like my favorite brushes because they aren't bad at all and they're really inexpensive. So love that. And then another one that I use, and I kind of have this brush in like different lengths and densities, pretty much all by Morphe. This is the M573. So this is just a great little blending brush as well, but it's just with the white hairs. And yeah, I love this. Definitely recommend it if you're looking for like a nice little blending brush. This is a good one. Alright, so we're almost done. We're getting there. So the rest are kind of like detail brushes. This one is by the Jacqueline Morphe collab, the GH42. It's just this really, really tiny little shader brush. And this is great for applying brow bone highlight because it's so tiny. I also use this to apply the inner corner highlight as well. It's just a great little detail brush, and I find myself always reaching for this one. So the next one is not like I'm bragging about this particular brush. I just always need a brush like this. But this one is good. This is the Shop Miss A E115. Oh, I forgot to give you the number for this one, the other Shop Miss A brush. That is the E113. Yeah, this is the E115, and it's just like a flat little definer brush that you can use to apply shadows on the lower lash line. It just kind of keeps it tight into the lash line. It doesn't get all over the place. And you also could use this to carve out brows as well. But yeah, I really love it for either smudging out liner on the bottom or top. And again, you could also use this to carve out the brows. It's just a great brush. But I also have other brushes just like this from other brands, but lately I've been using this one by Shop Miss A. The next one is also by Shop Miss A, and I use this to for lips. It's like the perfect little lip brush. This is the F16. It's just like a small little lip brush. It's a small little concealer brush basically. So again, multi-use brush, but I've just been using it to apply lip color on my clients. And again, it's $1, so you can't beat it. The next one is great for liner. This is the Morphe M160. And it says 1/16. So I think there's 2 M160s, and this is the 1/16 one. I think there's one that's a little bit bigger. But it's just a really, 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 really tiny little angled brush that you could use to apply eyeliner with. If you do a lot of wing liners on your clients and you prefer gel liner, this is going to be your BFF. You also can apply brow products with this as well. But yeah, it's just this tiny, cute little angled brush that I love. And the last one is a really unique brush. This is the MAC 2, oh, it's kind of rubbed off. I don't know if it's 235 or 285, but it's this little tiny little fan brush. You could use this to apply mascara on the bottom lashes. So if you're somebody that struggles with applying mascara on your clients, you are like scared to kind of get in their eye area with that disposable mascara wand, this is going to help you a lot. So what you do is you just kind of comb the mascara onto this brush, get some product on there, and then you just kind of wiggle it over the lashes and it just applies it evenly onto the lashes. I feel like you have more control with this, especially with the way you hold it, where the mascara ones you're like coming at the sides here. If you feel more comfortable going like this, then this is definitely a good brush to have. Like I said, if you struggle with mascara, I don't use this on everybody. A lot of times I end up just using a mascara one, but this is really great to have. It's also good if you get any, like if you have any clumps or anything like that, you can kind of just comb it out with the fan brush. Alright you guys, so that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this and got some good recommendations for me. Please leave your favorite brushes for your clients or even for yourself in the comments down below. I would love to know, because you know, I'm always up for buying some more products, more makeup, whatever it may be, and I love hearing other artists' recommendations. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.